So today let's talk about social anxiety. I'm going to introduce some common signs for social anxiety and also some proven work and practical methods that you can use to help you overcome social anxiety. If you're not sure if you are just being shy or actually have social anxiety, you can check out my video on the differences between shyness and social anxiety so that you have a general clue about what status are you actually in. As I've mentioned, shyness is a personality trait. It shows up pretty consistently in multiple areas of one person's life. But for social anxiety, it's a disorder. It comes with high level of distress when they're put under social occasions, as small as just casual conversations or meeting unfamiliar people, or as big as delivery presentation in public, being under the spotlight. So they often experience this high level of anxiety and fear. According to American Psychiatric Association's Manual of Mental Disorders, for social anxiety, one important criteria to be diagnosed is that this fear, anxiety, and avoidance have to cause damages to important areas of one person's life. So people who have social anxiety definitely have been somehow restricted in expanding their life possibilities due to this irrational fear of being rejected and criticized by people. And the signs are mainly from three areas: emotionally, physically, and also behaviorally. So for emotionally, we experience some kind of, for example, this fear and anxiety because we're worried that people are gonna look at us, they're gonna make judgments about us and make just random comments that might destroy our value. We get even more nervous about appearing nervous because people might call us weirdo because we seem just so uncomfortable around people. Some of us even experience panic or anxiety attacks when it's hard to manage. And physically, we might experience pounding hearts. Sometimes my heart races so fast that I feel like I become out of breath, to a point my palms become numb due to the lack of oxygen. Sometimes we experience palm sweating or just general sweating due to the nervousness. And sometimes we have blush. For me, it happens every time. Under this heavy makeup, my face got super red. And sometimes to a point that my friend thought I had a fever. And sometimes we experience muscle tension. I think this is the most common one because for me, when I'm put under social occasions, I have this stiff body, I move pretty clumsily. Sometimes we might even experience dizziness, we feel we couldn't think, we feel like we're fainting. Behaviorally, a lot of us, we just do social avoidance altogether. We just avoid any possible new social occasions that involve meeting new people because they might have this opportunity to judge and criticize us negatively. And when we're under social occasions, we probably would try to avoid eye contact. We would try to hide in the corner or just grab someone we know best, just cling to them so that we wouldn't be feeling left alone. After social occasions, we might be pretty obsessed about how we performed during that occasion, and we might just try to review every action and everything we said and try to poke holes of our behaviors. Sometimes it's overanalyzing, and we just criticize ourselves based on perceived misperformance. Negative self-talk often happens when we compare ourselves to other people's performance, thinking, well, how the hell did they act so glamorously and so calmly and so naturally while we are just awkward as hell. At the same time, we would assume other people would say the same thing about us. They would judge us, they would be so mean to us that to a point that we don't have value anymore. Social anxiety is actually more common than you think. A lot of people have it, but they are not aware of it. Taking myself as example, I know I have changed a lot since my childhood. When I was a kid, I was super outgoing. I wouldn't be shy. Even to strangers, I would just be so naughty and so expressive and so outgoing all the time. Until I was 7 years old, I experienced loss of my family member and I experienced abandonment. Even though later I was readopted by my uncle, my mom's big brother, But growing up in someone else's family is different. Even though they tried their best to welcome me, I transferred to another city, I transferred to another school where I started to accept everything has to be different. I become kind of closed off and I become extremely shy afterwards because I think I am the abnormal one of the family. I'm the abnormal one of my school because everybody has a normal family, unlike I did. When people call me shy, when people call me antisocial in puberty, I just took it. I didn't challenge it because I didn't have awareness at that time. So for years, I thought I was just a weirdo who doesn't like to social, who doesn't interact, who doesn't enjoy interactions from people. Until recent years, I started to attend regular therapy sessions. I have grown massive awareness around who I am. I've grown massive awareness of the false beliefs that I had. That's the time when I started to know that there are things we learned, but there are things that we can unlearn. What we gotta do is to detect the false beliefs that we have towards human interactions, towards social occasions, to uncover the hidden wounds, to release the emotions attached to that trauma so that we can be free. Next, I'm going to introduce some very practical methods that have personally helped me along the healing process of my own that can help you with your social anxiety. The first and ideal way is to work with a professional. A very effective one is CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. If talking to a professional is not an option for you, you can actually skip this part because the second and third advice is something that you can work on by yourself. To continue, social anxiety symptoms show up in our body when our vigilant nervous system gets triggered upon perceived threats, even though sometimes we know it's not true. CBT is doing this thing to help us identify the false beliefs that we have upon social occasions, and it helps us just take it out and look at it and challenge its legitimacy and if it's serving us, and before letting us just going straight to conclusions and further act on it. I used to work with a therapist who specialized in CBT. It was about 20 sessions and each session lasted for about an hour, during which she would guide me gently through the process. She would ask questions and lead me to deeper thoughts where I was just too lazy to go or where it was just too painful to look at. And it was actually confronting those thoughts. It was actually going to the deepest fear that I had under social occasions to set me free in the end. There are a lot of different CBT strategies that can be used to tackle social anxiety. For example, there's exposure therapy where they would design for you in a systematic way that you get to slowly expose yourself to different social occasions. There's cognitive restructuring, which helps you to just reframe the past events, prevents you from just going to the negative conclusion straightly like we have always done. And there's a role playing where they just helps you to just prepare you to different kind of tricky social occasions so that you will be feel more confident to enter all kind of social gatherings in the future. I cannot decide for you which one is the best for you because everyone's experience and everyone's severity is different. Katie Morton explained different CBT strategies used for social anxiety very well. I have linked her video down in the description box. If you're interested, you can check it out later. The second thing is to notice and release the resistance towards social occasions. When we're tackling things from a behavioral level, it's hard for us to change. It's hard for change to happen because we haven't touched upon the roots. Maybe it's being rejected or humiliated by your family in public, or maybe it's just being teased and made fun of by your friends or classmates in school. Those things are what make you form the impression that social occasions, social interactions can be scary. That's why it's so important for us to always go back to the cognitive level, to go back to the subconscious level, to find out what core belief that we have made us act the way we do today. So in this channel, I'm going to share a lot of techniques over and over again on bringing our subconscious thoughts to a conscious level. Before I do this, we also make sure that we're in a calm state, which allows us to notice what's going on with our body. Breathing techniques can be really powerful in helping us reaching this calm and relaxed state. For me, I would go somewhere alone. Like I would go somewhere by myself where I feel comfortable and not easily distracted by people. I would start with a few sets of breathing. It doesn't have to be complicated, just breathing from your nose and hold it for 2 to 4 seconds and then exhale from our mouth. But for everybody's different, just do it in the way that you feel most comfortable. Do this exercise repetition for about 7 to 10 times, and then you will notice a drastic difference. So when we're relaxed, try to think about social occasions and how does that make you feel. There are often going to be some images flash by in front of our eyes, and we may hear repetitive narratives. I want you to be an observer, just as if it's happening to someone else and you're just observing. Not to respond, not to react or be distracted or carried away by it. And try to ask yourself those questions. Are those voices or images often carry some kind of negative predictions, or are they about something horrible that happened in the past? Emotionally, how are you feeling? Emotionally, how are you feeling? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel resistant? Do you feel like you want to run away? Physically, do you feel this tension? Do you feel a tight feeling in your chest and belly areas? Notice what this resistance feels like to you. Just try to use words to describe how you feel emotionally, physically, or just mental images and voice and stuff. And try to recall what is the earliest social occasions that make you feel this way, make you feel this resistant and anxious towards. You may wonder why it helps. The thing is, if we're able to trace back to the false evidence that pile on top of each other, which contribute to the final conclusion that socializing is dangerous, is bad, we're given this opportunity to reframe that negative experience, to release the feelings and emotions attached to that incident. Then that little part of us will be healed. For example, for me, it happened when I was 8 years old. Some traumatic experience happened at home. We were dealing with the loss of a family member. And I was pretty depressed, and I was going through a grieving period by myself because I didn't know who to talk to. So I had a hard time concentrating in my class. And there was one time my math teacher, he threw this giant eraser onto my face and it hit me and landed on my desk. It scared shit out of me because I was zoning out at that time, and all of my classmates just burst into laughs and they teased me and they made fun of me because of that, because they thought it was just funny. But it left a mark on my overall impression on being in class, on hanging around with my classmates, because I feel like nobody cared what I think, nobody cared how I felt, but they think I'm a weirdo. I couldn't do as good as they do in school. So every incident after that, something even remotely resembling this negative social experience, I would add this evidence on top of that. I would think that they were proving my conclusion right. So after years and years of strengthening, I finally it's this unshakable belief that I'm unlovable, I'm a weirdo, and people they don't really care how I felt. So I don't want to ever make fun of myself in front of large crowds. So till recent years, I still have this fear and anxiety when I walk to a meeting room, when I have to meet new coworker or just new friends in general. I would find tons of excuse to turn down invites to all sorts of social occasions. Sorting things out along the timeline and figuring out the pattern really helped me understand why I do things the way I do, why I would feel nervous, why I would think people are dangerous in social occasions. And it kind of just provides the room for change. It kind of just prevents me from going straight to the conclusion that people are bad. The third thing is journaling. It's something I learned from my therapist. It's also one of the most widely used tools from CBT to help us handle complex emotions and reflect on the thoughts and on the behaviors and the pattern. I cannot stress enough the importance of journaling, because when our voices and images are like enmeshments in our head, putting everything in a concrete form really help us release our anxiety. Social anxiety can trick us to believe in a lot of lies. For example, I'm never good enough, I'm never gonna be pretty enough to get people's attention, and people are gonna judge me and say mean things about me. Even though on a conscious level we all know probably it's not even true, but we just cannot control how our body and mind automatically responds under social occasions. And journaling can be the best tool to help us challenge it, to help us just question the legitimacy of one thought before letting us just jump into conclusion and act on it. For past couple of years of healing, I have always kept a personal journal on my phone, so that when I was put under social occasions, when I was triggered of emotion, I would sit down and write whatever like thoughts and feelings and interactions I had with people, and how their facial expressions, gestures, postures, and tones of voice and everything, how their words make me feel. The thoughts would be like, well, you're never gonna be as pretty as her. You know, people want to invite you out of pity, and you are never gonna provide as much as value as people want, so they're never gonna take genuine interest in you. When I think about the thoughts, I would have physical reactions, like I would experience tight feeling in my chest, I would find it hard to breathe, I would feel dizzy, and I just wanted to get out of there as quick as possible because I don't feel comfortable. And that's the pattern of me responding to social occasions. One tip on journaling is to not leave that enmeshed and untangled feelings for too long, because you might forget about it the next day. So for me, I would just try to work it out either on set of the happening or before I go to bed on that specific day, because I don't want to miss the opportunity to heal myself. Because after a couple of weeks, you will see a very clear pattern of how you behave, like why you behave the way you do in social occasions, and that's the perfect opportunity for you to just work on the roots. Alright my friends, I hope you like this video. I hope it's helpful for you. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you wanted to see more videos like this, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.